Welcome to today's video where we're going to be running through a couple of points that we wish we knew before moving out to Australia as Brits. Bit of a mouthful, but got there in the end.
So we are based in the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, and so the weather is very different to other parts of Australia. However, one thing that I think we need to definitely focus on is the weather, just being so different from the UK. And you think, as a Brit, you think, oh, it's hot, it's nice weather, you can go out in it. One thing that we actually noticed is there's no like beds on the beach like there is in Europe. We actually spoke about this yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
And that's mainly because the UV is so high that you don't sit in the sun here. Like, just being out in the sun is enough. You've got to make sure that you've got like your factor 50 on. I remember only actually using factor 50 when I was like a kid. So it's crazy to be using factor 50 as like an adult.
I think because everybody, especially in the UK, can be so pale, that when they go on holiday, they really try and soak up the sun as much as they can. So they're out in the sun, and even if they burn, they'd rather burn and then put after sun on and try and get a tan. Whereas over here, you can do that, and like literally the Aussies say, and they've said it to us plenty of times, you can get a tan putting out your washing. Like if this sun moves whilst we're recording this video, we'll probably get a tan on the back of our necks. So you do really need to be careful that you're topped up on sun cream or sunscreen, as they say. Just make sure that you are topped up on that and not spending too long in the sun, especially in summer, as the UV is just
it's so
beyond
strong.
what I even realised.
I think a couple of people that we've spoke to that are here as well, they get like their skin checked every 6 months, which is crazy. Like you think like in the UK we've never had our skin checked.
Yeah.
Like that's not something that you do. So yeah, like the weather is no joke, and when it rains, it really rains. So like we're used to rain.
I love that though. I love the rain here.
The rain
like that
is
tropical
amazing.
rain is stuff that like you would put on a meditation app to like go to sleep to. And we've had it a couple of nights where it's been so strong that we cracked the window open and then we just got to sleep, and it's
so nice,
it's
so
funny.
nice. But it's not nice when you're driving in it. So you know, ideally you do need to avoid driving in it. It can be quite scary, especially if you're not used to it, because it really does come down in force.
And we've not had the major rain yet, especially on the Sunshine Coast in this area. It comes down heavy in like the January, February months, so we've still got some of the worst weather in that regards to come yet. And what we've been through already is quite full on for us. So
we've not seen the golf ball hill yet. We've been told about it, but we've not actually seen that yet. So.
I'm scared for our car when that happens, because it isn't under coverage and there isn't really a way to get it under coverage. So we have been warned about that, but we didn't know about it before we came out. So yeah, the weather overall is serious. Don't mess about. Take it serious and be careful. So the second point we want to cover is cost of living. Now, cost of living is no joke, and it is something that is being felt worldwide. Now, Australia isn't some haven where cost of living doesn't exist, and we've actually had a few people comment on our videos and say, please mention this to any Brits who might be coming out. So this video is perfect for this. Cost of living is just as bad in certain areas as it is in the UK. For example, rent out here can be astronomical when you factor it in and basically equate it to what it is worth in British pounds to here in Aussie dollars. Can be a lot more, not worse off I would say, but definitely it can be a lot higher than what you would pay back in the UK.
We're also used to paying costs in the northwest of England, so we're comparing it to that, which is cheaper than say London. So if you're an Aussie and you're looking to go and live in London, you might find it quite comparable, but where we're from and the small terrace house that we have back home is very different to any rent that we can find here, no matter how small we try and find a spot. So yeah, rent overall is more expensive here, but of course if you are working here, you are employed in Australia, the wages are a lot higher, so that usually gets offset in terms of that. But yeah, I think they pay like 30% rent here. Like when you look at your earnings, I think like at least 30% goes on rent. That might actually be a bit offensive to Aussies, because I think it might even be more now, but I think I saw a stat on it being like 30%, so it's quite high in that sense.
Another point on cost of living as well are the groceries. So if you go to a shop and you're shopping in the local Woolies or Coles, which is equivalent to a Tesco or an Asda, the average grocery shop is going to be that little bit higher than what it would be in the UK. So your average everyday goods are just that little bit more, especially I would guess in more populated areas like maybe in Sydney, Melbourne, Victoria. These places are like your kind of London cities, your Manchesters, where prices kind of go up that little bit more than the rural spots. This can be quite shocking to a Brit when you come in and you go, oh my gosh, look how much we're spending on shopping. But what we have noticed to offset it, there are a few things here that are a little bit cheaper. For example, that would be eating out. So if you're going to a restaurant or you're eating somewhere, maybe even a takeaway, which are very common in the UK and not as common over here. But yeah, if you were to go and get a takeaway, I would say that would be a little bit cheaper on average than in the UK. Not everywhere, but some places, like your average overall across the board place. The same goes for cars as well, but I'll let Cody cover that because she knows a little bit more than me.
Yeah, so with the car, the insurance, it's like 50% less for us than it is in the UK. So the UK did cost us a lot more on insurance and keeping the car on the road. But one thing that we have noticed is buying a car here is a lot more expensive. I'm not too sure about getting a car on finance here. I'm not sure how that works because we haven't done that. We just bought the car outright, just to kind of save on costs in the long run. But yeah, so the value of the car was higher, but yeah, overall running a car, like the diesel cost is a lot lower. The insurance is a hell of a lot lower, like a lot lower. That was really good. And taxes as well tend to be a little bit cheaper. So the third point that we wanted to cover is about the wildlife. It's not that often that you get any encounters with spiders and snakes, and when you do, you just keep your distance. Of course the spiders are around, of course the snakes are definitely around, but depending on the time of day, you don't actually see them that often. So it's something that, coming from the UK, a lot of people in the UK say, I don't know, you moved to Australia, like, because of the spiders and snakes, and if that is stopping you, then that's boo-loo. There might be many other reasons that stop you that are a lot more serious rather than the snakes and the spiders.
Yeah.
But that is definitely not something to worry about. And what is actually really, really weird and different to the UK is that we see kangaroos just around. Like, you've got to be really careful when you're driving around, actually, because kangaroos can kind of like jump out in the...
Yeah, the kangaroos can be straight out into roads, especially when it's a little bit more rural.
Yeah, so that's not great, but it's amazing to like wake up and hear the whipbirds and the kookaburras. Yeah, the wildlife area is very diverse. You usually are a lot more surrounded by it, and you feel a lot more aware of it on a daily basis. Everyone else seems a lot more aware of it. Like in the UK, there can be people that are not really interested or involved or bothered about what's going on around them wildlife-wise. Like they might not know what local birds are around, and you know, only really people that like going out on hikes and stuff. So yeah, here everyone feels a lot more kind of involved.
I would say that, and this is again, just to reiterate the point, this is us coming from like what I would class as a semi-rural spot in the UK to a semi-rural spot in Australia. Obviously, if you're from a city in the UK and you come out to a semi-rural spot, it's going to be a lot more wildlife. But you could also come from a really rural, remote spot in the UK to a city in Australia and be like, there's hardly any wildlife. So it does factor in where and if you come to the right spot, or the spot that you're looking for. If you're not looking for a lot of spiders and not looking for a lot of snakes, if you're in a city, in an apartment, chance of you seeing a snake or a spider, a lot less than if you're on like a ground floor of an apartment backing onto bushland. We've seen quite a few, but you keep your distance. The next point we're going to cover is driving and kind of semi-distances included in that as well. So driving is a big, big one. For us, we kind of knew preemptively coming out the distances and the places where we would have to reach and go to would mean that we would need two of us driving. What a lot of people don't actually know is I wasn't actually driving until last year. I only passed my driving last year. Cody's driving for 10 years. So people often wonder, why does Cody drive everywhere? That is mainly the reason, but what we had thought before we came out here was that the distances are going to be quite far in certain areas if we need to go to places. So we need two drivers. If Cody's not feeling well or Cody's feeling fatigued, I can then take over and vice versa. So for us, we kind of knew semi about this, but it is just more so on a daily kind of basis of things. So a lot of distances, a lot of the roads can be just straight long roads. We were speaking to somebody who gave directions to go from like one place to another place that was, I don't know, like 14 hours away, and there was only 4 or 5 right or left turns. Like the rest of the way down this 14-hour journey was just one road. Like there was literally 4 right and left turns in the whole journey for 14 hours.
Crazy.
So
Crazy.
that is mental.
Is why we picked the Sunshine Coast, because we knew that it was quite contained, but when we do have to leave the Sunshine Coast, that can be quite difficult. So going down to Brisbane, there's been things that we needed to go to Sydney for and we've just not done it yet. You know, we'd have to fly there, or it'd be like a 10-hour journey there. So it's a long, long way for us. But it's funny because we spoke to some Canadians over Christmas.
Yeah, we did.
Over the New Year, sorry, and they were like, oh, it's funny that like a 3-hour journey for you guys is really long, and we're like, yeah, that's pretty long. That's quite a long
It's a
way
big
to
old
go.
journey. Big old
And
journey.
for them, it's just like nothing. It's the same with Australians. So yeah, that's something that you will need to factor in depending on where you move to in Australia. Please just be aware that things are very far away. So yeah, pick accordingly. So the healthcare system is going to be our next point. What I didn't realise is that Medicare is not the NHS directly. So this is something that you can get quite confused. If you don't have private healthcare when you're here, you will still have to pay for certain appointments, like seeing the doctor. I think getting an ambulance you have to pay for. That doesn't come free like it does in the UK. So it's just very important that you know when you get out here, just make sure you get private healthcare, make sure you get a Medicare card as well, which can help towards costs. And bring costs down. It can be kind of sent back to the UK. But yeah, just don't have a misconception about Medicare just being completely free,
And
like the NHS.
the exact same as the NHS. So I
Yeah.
think a few people have mentioned that to us who've come out. So yeah, just do your research, look into it, and make sure that you're not just under any false pretenses. That's a big one.
You can get an appointment a lot quicker here. So when we have needed a doctor's appointment, we have been able to get them a lot quicker than you can in the UK, which is a bonus. But yeah, so just something to be aware of. Same for any Australians going obviously over to the UK. You can kind of get an ambulance. You can. I'm not sure how it works directly for you, but the NHS is usually a lot more wider available. However, it's under a lot of pressure, in which it's causing a lot of obviously issues and delays, which isn't the best.
And that's like you said, although they might be free in the UK, to actually get one is nigh on impossible. So it's basically like the option isn't there. We've known of people in the UK that have been in serious agony or pain or struggling, and the person on the end of the phone has just told them, right, well, you're going to have to get a taxi in, or you're going to have to get a lift in from a family member or a friend. And when that option's not available, you're kind of like stuck a lot of the time. So yeah, you might have to pay a bit, but you know you're going to get one here. So the next point I'm going to cover is food. Now, this is one that I've had a lot of family speaking to me on phones about and going like, you know, when I'm on FaceTime, they're saying like, oh, can you get this? Can you get this? Can you get such a thing?
Someone said, can you get tea bags?
My
I said, oh,
sister,
I bet you're missing a cup of tea. And we were like,
Yeah.
why? And she was like, oh, well, you don't have tea bags. You don't have like UK
And
tea
then
bags.
I literally went to the cupboard and pulled out 3 different brands of the most popular UK tea bag, and she was like, oh, right. Like, we use like a milk alternative in the UK, and that milk alternative is literally the exact same one that we use here. Mr. Kipling's Angel Slices are one of my favourite foods. I love them to bits, and you can get them over here in pretty much any Coles, I think.
Yeah.
The Coles section for Mr. Kipling's was massive. So there's a lot of British foods that people wouldn't even realise are just on the shelves normally. We've been to shops and seen the British section, and it's really weird stuff like
Mushy peas.
certain brands of mushy peas
Bovril.
and Bovril and things that you would just never really like be like, oh, craving or after, personally. But a lot of the British stock is just mixed in with the Australian stock as well. So a lot of it you can just go through a shop and go, oh, they have that here, oh, they have that here. I'm yet to find something that I'm like really desperate for personally. But Cody, on the other hand, you had to make a big change with one specific drink.
Yeah, so I used to love drinking Vimto in the UK. I wasn't really interested in any other cordial, but Vimto was like a biggie for me. However, since being here, it's not that easy to get hold of. They do have it, and I could drive somewhere today and go and get it. I know where I can get it, but it's a little bit more further afield. And then sometimes you can go in certain shops like the IGA, and it can be in some IGAs and not in others. So yeah, again, it's like that's something that I've kind of had to give up, which I never thought I would be able to.
Yeah.
But it's only a good thing. It's just full of sugar. It's not like I'm missing anything like, you know, great. Instead, I'm swapping it for like fresh mangoes and juices and coconut water.
Yeah.
You know, I drink a lot of coconut water now, and I didn't like coconut water in the UK.
No,
it was
true
actually
that.
had a really bad taste to it. But we love drinking coconut water here. So yeah, there's definitely been a couple of changes that's more of a
100%.
positive.
100%. And like you said, because of the hot weather as well, I've not been drinking nowhere near as much cups of tea. I might drink one in the evening, maybe 2 in the evening, but back in the UK, I could probably go about 6-7 cups of tea in a day. So it's a lot of cups of tea that I've managed to cut down, and instead I'm drinking coconut water. So like you said, you do kind of give and take with certain things, and your palate might adapt in the heat as well. That sounds stupid to any Aussies. Aussies might be like, what are you talking about? But your palate does change a little bit, like you said. Feels weird sometimes to drink a hot coffee. We tend to get the iced coffees.
Yeah.
But in the UK, I would always be getting like a hot coffee.
Yeah.
So things will change, and you will maybe kind of find options and alternatives with certain foods you like. But personally, coming from us two, we haven't really found many things that you can't get in a shop that you love back in the UK. Let us know if you have found anything, if you're living over here as a Brit, that you really do miss, because we've not seen that yet.
The next point that we want to discuss, which is something that is very relevant to us, not necessarily right now, but is the visa options. So as you guys know, we are on a working holiday visa, which from the UK at the minute is we can get up to 3 years, which is fantastic. However, it doesn't lead to anything past that. So there's no permanent residency, which is something that we would be obviously considering since moving here. We do love this country, we would love to get permanent residency. And so the visa options as of this year are actually a lot, they're harder, there's not as many visa options, and it's even harder for people that are self-employed like ourselves. So even though we are going out and helping small Australian businesses, we're not directly employed by one Australian business, which makes it quite difficult. So yeah, that's like an issue that I didn't really look into too much, because when you're in the UK, you're just so excited to get out and you're just like, oh, we'll just get any visa that we can get out on. But it is something that we are going to start looking at. You know, we can enjoy our 3 years and then we'll be back in the UK, or if we want, you know, access to permanent residency here, we will have to look at another visa option, which we're not sure what that is as of yet. So speaking to a specialist is something that we'd be doing. So yeah, again, that's mostly for like a Brit watching this. It's just important to know
Make sure
that can be hard.
Know your visas, make sure you've done your research, try and get some external help, and like you said, make sure that it really does fit you. Like you said, I think what we did is probably the best route, and I would recommend if anybody is considering it, which was last year we came for a holiday.
Yeah.
We stayed in a few spots up the East Coast, and kind of just basically for only a holiday. It wasn't a reconnaissance mission, it wasn't like a scouting mission. We weren't planning on moving back out, we just came for a holiday. We really enjoyed certain spots, and then when we came home to the UK, we then said, right, what are we going to do? We want to get back out there, we want to get our dog out there and try it. And that's what we then went and did for the next year, planned it, got sorted, came over, and we're now here. We're now looking at potential furthering that to like stay a little bit longer, maybe.
Or just it would just be nice to have access to permanent residency. Picco's got his eyes on some
I think he's got an ant. Yeah, there's an ant over there that he's
so funny because the ants here are so big that you can even see them from here. They're actually like a couple of meters away, and you can still see them. So funny. But yeah, so yeah, we would like access to stay here longer, of course. Why wouldn't we? Especially with like the vlog and
the vlog's
our business. We're going out helping small businesses that are here, helping them survive. So yeah, of course we would want to stay. So yeah, dead important, really important to look into that. So we think that is enough points for this video, but if you did like this video, please do comment below, because we have got quite a lot of other points that we'd like to cover. We just don't want to make this too long-winded. So let us know if you do want a part 2, and we will 100% be up for doing a part 2, as there is so many other factors and things to cover as what we wish we knew before we moved out here.
And if there are any points that you guys are wanting in particular for us to cover or speak about in that next video, let us know in the comment section, as Cody did just mention, because we can kind of do a bit of research and then come back with full details for you in a part 2 if you want to see it.
Also, if you've got any questions for us on the topics that we have covered today, comment below and I will try to respond to as many of you as we possibly can, just to kind of answer any queries that you might have.
So that is our video for today wrapped up. If you guys have enjoyed it, please be sure to show your support. And we want to say a massive shout out to all the members on the channel. Show your beautiful names on the screen now. And we wanted to say, if you have enjoyed or you want to see more content from us, be sure to subscribe, because we upload a range of different content, from reactions, but mainly based around our daily life and adventures here in Australia in vlogging format. These videos are a little bit different to the usual, so we like to keep it fresh, keep people on the toes.
I was going to say, like, let us know as well what it is that you guys enjoy. Do you enjoy our travels more? Do you enjoy our reactions? Do you enjoy our sit-down talks? Let us know what you enjoy the most, and we do upload 5 times a week, so there's plenty of videos for everyone's different preferences.
Yeah.
And we do like to mix it up depending on days where we might be busy with work, etc. But yeah, we have got somewhere quite exciting that we're actually going to try this week, so make sure you do watch the next vlog after this one, because we're going on a bit of a road trip. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that.
See you there. For now, adios.